Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is Dr. D from Dr. D, the MFT, and I am so happy to be joining you again with Laura for another chapter in the Stories of Resilience series. So, Laura, could you take a few moments to introduce yourself, tell us, who you are, what you do, and then we'll get started.
Hi everybody, my name is Laura. I am from the UK and I am Cognitive Hypnotherapist and Coach. I help everyone to put their past behind them, really work with the present and build a wonderful future, whatever that wonderful future for them would be. I use various techniques, hypnotherapy techniques, NLP techniques, positive psychology techniques, coaching techniques. So various techniques really depending on my client, just to help them with the future.
Yeah, so it sounds like you take a very integrative approach.
Yes.
Awesome. And I love how you were talking about the connection between the past and creating the future. And I'm looking forward to diving deep with that with you today. So to get started, how would you fill in the blank? Resilience is?
I think for me, resilience is a strength, really, because it's the strength within you to kind of go through all the challenges in one's life and learn from them, and don't let them to kind of pull you down. Because it's so easy to let things like challenges to pull you down. But it is something within ourselves, and lots of people don't realize how much power and how much resilience they have within themselves. So for my clients, it's kind of building their confidence and giving them the realizations that they have all the power within themselves to achieve whatever they want. Sometimes they just need a bit of guidance, just a little bit of help, but really all comes from themselves.
Yes, I love how you're saying this, because so many times when people are in need, they're looking outward. They're looking to what is it that I'm missing? How can I get this? How can I get that? And you said it so beautifully. Resilience is already something that is within you. That power, that strength, it's within you. It's just about figuring out how to tap into that. And I love how you mentioned the piece about learning from these things, because we could push through stuff, but you were talking about the importance of learning from it and not being pulled down by it. So how would you, if you could take a moment and reflect back, when was a key moment that you realized how resilient you were?
I've been kind of thinking about it, and I suppose because obviously I had quite a challenging background, challenging childhood. So at the time, because I was so young, things happened. I kind of didn't have the knowledge or the time to kind of take a step back and kind of reflect.
Right.
So I think for me, I think it really for me was when I was finding myself at the sort of a rock bottom for me, and I kind of had two choices, that whether I kind of stay there or whether I will do everything in my power to get out of the situation and have a sort of better life.
Right.
I think it was when I was finding almost my power, kind of stamping my feet and saying, no, I want a better life. Right. I think it was then when I thought, looking back, how did I go through it?
Yes.
And to get to the point when I was sort of 17, 18, looking back thinking, wow, how did I manage all of those challenges when I was so much younger? And whoa, I can't get out of this now.
Yeah.
Hell, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, it was that.
That's a really good point. So you mentioned, and we talked a little bit like in a pre-interview, and so can you give a little bit of context to the people listening, what a little bit of the details of that story are, whatever you feel comfortable sharing?
Oh yes, absolutely. So I'm originally from Estonia. It is a very small country in Europe, and I was born to a very poor family. So I didn't have a father, and I just had a mother who obviously had to go to work and try to look after myself as best as she could. But you know, she had a lot of her own issues together with mental health issues. Um, and you know, I was when I was younger, there were times I had to study in a candlelight because we didn't have money for electricity.
Candlelight.
Yeah.
Oh.
um, you know, we had to move from place to place because we didn't have money to pay for rent. There were times I was homeless. There were times when we had nothing to eat.
Mm.
You know, these sort of challenges, and looking back, I have no idea how I still managed to go to school, how I still managed to do all my exams, because you know, there were times I went to school and I was starving. You know, people went and had lunch, and I literally, you know, I didn't have often help, or I didn't have any money to buy anything, and obviously a lot of that I got to a point when I was just really depressed. You know, at the age of 18, I had to sleep with my mother in the same bed. We just had a little teeny tiny room that fit a bed and a wardrobe, and that was pretty much it. And you know, I was kind of 18, sort of 17, 18, and I was really depressed about that. So that was kind of I think when I got to a complete rock bottom, I didn't almost have anything. I didn't have, obviously there were, you know, some better times, but sort of the general childhood, I had quite a challenging times.
Yes.
I think that was the time when I got myself a point when I was just so fed up, you know, with everything. So.
Yeah. Fed up with that kind of being part of your emotional experience, part of your daily experience. And as you know, helping professionals, we know the importance and the many different ways in which poverty has a negative impact on not only our physical health, but our emotional and psychological health. And that was something that now you're able to look at through a different lens. But in the moment, you were just like, this isn't okay. I do not want to continue living like this. I cannot. And that's kind of that place where you were mentioning, you were like, I just need to do something. I need to do anything. And what was it that you did?
Well, obviously at the time, I didn't have the support network around me other than, you know, I had my sort of a few family members, but to be fair, I was really embarrassed to tell them everything that, you know, what my day-to-day life really was.
Oh, so they weren't aware of the other family members?
Not really, no, not to the extent.
Okay.
But, you know, they knew bits of it, but not to the extent. So yeah, I found myself kind of at rock bottom, and now obviously you said very well that now knowing what I know now and stuff that I studied, I can see it in a very different light. And now I know that, you know, when people get to rock bottom, they could look at it thinking my life is over, this is the worst experience ever, or they could look at it in a way that, oh, I'm at rock bottom, which means that there is nowhere else to go but up.
I love that.
So yeah, that was kind of one thing that I now know. But then I really I suppose my first thing was I got quite angry. I was looking around externally thinking, how can this person achieve that? How can that person achieve that? And I got to a point, I got so angry when I thought, no, I swear I will, do it whatever way possible. Because what was my choices? My choices at the time was to stay there and suffer and be depressed and whatever, or I can do something about it. There was no, oh, I'll try to do something about it. I will absolutely decided I will do something, whatever it was. And I was quite lucky because I did some voluntary work at the time, and the lady that I was working with, she recommended a book which was called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens.
Okay, yes, I'm familiar with the adult version, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've read both, but I still like the teen version. And I think that was my first sort of self-help book. And that was my first, like a bit of boost that there is a bit of hope for me. And I kind of started following it, doing the tasks and everything. And then, I got to a point when I started, one thing about the book, what it says is write your almost like this statement,
the mission statement, I think.
Mission statement.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't have any sort of good ideas. So I was just listening some songs that were really, kind of filled me with a bit of hope. And so that kind of became my mission statement. And I become reading that book more and more. And I was writing, sort of really positive quotes down, and that gave me a bit of boost. And I started doing quite a lot of visualization exercises. I didn't know that there were visualization exercises
at the time. Right.
But knowing all of the things now, it was absolutely what I was doing, because visualization exercises for your mind is so important.
Absolutely.
I mean, top athletes are doing that as part of their training. So so that was kind of another thing I did. And I was just beginning to think, what is the thing that I can do? I mean, now I know that anything more than nothing is a success. Anything more than nothing will take you from where you are now to a little bit further where you want to go. And movement creates more movement.
Yes.
So that means you're no longer stuck.
Yes.
So I think
quotes right now. I love that. Anything more than nothing is a success. That I haven't heard that one before. But that one is so true, because a lot of times we stay stuck because we think this is how things need to happen. We don't have all the resources. Oh, I can't do it. And then we end up doing nothing. But I love what you're saying. Anything more than nothing is actually success, because it's allowing you to take those little stepping stones. And in the next step, you find a little bit more. The next step, you find a little bit more. And even you were mentioning, I admire your ability you were going through that. You were a person that was in need of a lot of things when it comes to like financial resources or things of that nature. And yet you were still volunteering your time. And yet you were still pouring into others. And that just says a lot about your character. And it was through that action that you, like you said, you got lucky, you got blessed, or, things just worked out so that you were able to find out about that book. And then finding out about that book, then you started integrating and transforming your self-talk and so many other things. So it's that first step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's what it is. I have so many clients who just feel so overwhelmed by a lot of things, and with their family situation and financial situation, and often physical health and mental health, because they feel so overwhelmed they can't deal with all of that.
Exactly.
They almost feel they can't deal with any of that, so they just don't do anything.
Yes.
And that's when I teach them that anything more than nothing is something, because you begin the movement.
Yes.
And teach them the idea of a butterfly effect, that a small change can have a significant impact to your life at a sort of future time. So it is not that they have to do the whole thing at one time. Just start with one step, and that may lead to something else, and that leads to something else, and movement creates movement. So it is important to kind of start anywhere, anything, just take a step.
I love that. There was one more thing you said that was so powerful to me that I wanted to touch on before we move on. But you were talking about how instrumental anger was. And I think a lot of the times anger gets a bad rep as something that is just so negative and we must avoid all of the time. But you were sharing how that was actually instrumental. And the way I was kind of visualizing it as you were speaking is the anger kind of served as a door, or that like inner portal for you to tap into your inner power and your inner strength. Like that anger allowed you to be like, whoa, hold on. No, I will not continue in this. Like I will. And then your investigative brain went on, your solution finding brain went on, and you started picking up all of this information from your environment and figuring out, okay, what can I do differently? What is within my power? And that anger was very instrumental in that way. Would you agree with that?
I think it was, and I think you're so right about anger. When we are kids, our parents and teachers say, oh, it's wrong to be angry, it's wrong, and it's wrong. But actually, in certain circumstances, it can actually give you this energy boost that I particularly needed in that moment. It was literally, I was almost in a crossroads. Am I going that way, which would lead me more into this pain, or am I going that way? And I don't know what's going to come, but I know that it must be better than the other side. So I think that was in my book, I kind of talk about almost like I'm Hulk, funny enough.
We're agreed. I love it.
It's almost like I was pushed down with lots of heavy stuff on me. And I got to a point when I just thought, almost like I bursted out then and said, no, I will do whatever necessary. And that's kind of that was the first thing where I almost started climbing up the other way. And I mean, a few years later, I managed to find a voluntary project, which enabled me to go to UK for 11 months. And as it happened, I went there and I stayed there, and 14 years later, I'm sitting here talking to you. Wow. So, I know that that's what I'm trying to get, that the past don't have to hold you back. Whatever your situation was, it doesn't matter that your mother didn't go to university. It doesn't matter that you had no money. If you really want something, you can get it. Yes. There are just some stuff that you have to do, and you have to build, your strength and resilience and, knowledge and so forth, but you can absolutely do it.
Yes. So you mentioned your book. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I am writing a book, which is sort of a quite honest reflection of what happened to me in my past, and the idea really, again, is to give people a hope that they can achieve whatever they want. So I tell my story, but I also teach obviously everything that I've now learned, and now everything that I help my clients with. So it's sort of a bit of a funny book of some funny stories and sort of my past and the challenges and how you can kind of overcome them with a few tools that people can start using straight away to kind of take the first step.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So yes, we will stay tuned, and I'll have her contact information in the description, so you'll be able to follow her and follow up on the wonderful work that she is doing. So you already started talking about a few of the things that you've used to strengthen and cultivate your resilience over time. So far, I picked up on you mentioning that book being instrumental, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Using songs, using music to help you transform your self-talk, to help you stay in a certain emotional and empowered state. So using songs and music very intentionally. You also mentioned quotes and the process of visualization. Was there anything else that you used that was really instrumental in helping you nurture this resilience?
Definitely self-development in any sort of way. It's not only this particular book. I mean, at the moment, to my clients, I'm like a library. I could offer so many books which kind of have helped my clients and helped me to sort of help my clients. But there are, I think, one thing what I find now, which I teach my clients, is kind of get out of your comfort zone. That's one kind of thing, because when we stay in our comfort zone, that's when we stop growing and we kind of stop seeing what's sort of ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say something which you mentioned earlier, that some people feel like, oh, I don't know enough, so that means I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that we learn until we die. So if, for example, I'm actually, I qualified as a solicitor. That's what I thought I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that actually I wanted to help people more. So I requalified or retrained as a therapist and coach. Mm-hmm. But when I launched my business, if I would have waited until I was ready, and until I knew enough, I would probably still not there, because you learn as it goes. So I think
the way, absolutely.
Just there is a really good book says, feel the fear and do it anyway. I think it's it's the one thing. Just you're not quite ready, just go and take the first step. It leads to other things.
Yes.
And really build in your, have you ever come across external locus of control and internal locus of control? Yes. Right. Yes. So again, building that internal locus of control muscle. You're not born knowing these things. Mm-hmm. It is self-development and looking after yourself and kind of building that resilience muscle. Mm-hmm. It is a lifelong commitment. It's like having a shower. Yeah. So you can't kind of do it for 2 weeks and say, that'll do. Never again.
Yes. I love the way you express that, the lifelong commitment. And it's that commitment to yourself, that commitment to your growth, that commitment to your dreams and your visions. And you said it beautifully, it's lifelong. So waiting to get there, quote unquote, like that's there's no there. It's part of the process. And the process is lifelong.
Yeah. So, and again, I like, just like me, when you have a crazy dream, for example. Well, I say crazy sort of quotation marks, because what is crazy to one is not crazy to other. But if you have some sort of dream, like I told my friends, I'm going to move to the UK, and they said, well, how are you going to get there? You can't speak English. You don't have any money. How are you going to get there? Don't be so silly. Just get a job, know? And if I would have listened to them, mm-hmm. I would have probably done that. But so you kind of, sometimes it's okay not to listen to everyone around you, and kind of, what is your gut feeling saying about that? And surround yourself with positive, like I did, with positive quotes and positive sort of, songs, or now we have YouTube. Just Google,
Yes.
It's all there. When I was 19, there wasn't really, Google wasn't so, or YouTube, there wasn't that that
as big
much.
as they are now.
Yeah, so I think people now have so many resources, even if they don't have they family behind them, or they friends behind them. There is so much they can do for themselves in sort of YouTube, books, course. If there are loads of free courses, lots of cheap courses, if financial is sort of an issue, there is so much people can do for themselves. They just need a little bit of that determination, that fire, that push, the confidence, really, to kind of take that first step, and then take another step, and take another step, and
So a lot of what you're sharing is kind of like hinting on the one thing I'm so excited for you to share with all of us. How is it that you collected all this? So you shared a little bit about it. It kind of looks like it was like a personal encyclopedia, or kind of like book that you created that kind of chronicles your journey throughout this. Can you tell us a little bit about how you used that exercise to help you shift your self-talk and build yourself up and surround yourself with these positive messages?
Yes, I have that in here. I still have it. Yes, I have weird stuff in there. So how did I suppose the initial thing, it started obviously from the 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Teens. It kind of gave me a bit of a boost, and told about the sort of the mission statement for yourself. And that book is actually full of really positive quotes that really
Spoke to you.
spoke with me. And I got to a point when, because I had so many doubters, I kind of felt, I can and I will, you watch me. And now I have a tattoo that says
yeah.
Yeah. So I think I started with just one step. I wrote something down that led me to something else. I wrote it down again, I suppose I became I suppose because our brain, it feeds what you focus on.
Yes.
So when you focus on the negative stuff, where I was really just noticing the negative stuff. That's all I saw. My eyes were closed to everything else.
Kind of like blinders.
Yeah. And when I took that first step, I started reading that book. I found a few quotes. I wrote them down. I suppose I became more aware of, there are other ways of looking at things. And because I became more aware and more tuned to the positives, that just kind of, again, it led me to another positives. And I suppose I then started feeding more of the positives. And obviously, because I was a bit stubborn, I said, no, I'll show you that I can do it. And then I kind of had to do it because I didn't want to lose face either. But because I was so determined to find the way. And even though I didn't know how, I had no idea what is the opportunities out there for me, because, to be fair, logically thinking, there was nothing. But somehow, with everything that I was doing, with the quotes, with the visualization, I thought that I feel like there is an absolute faith that I don't know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, but one day it's going to happen. And I think it was the core faith that kind of kept me going as well. And again, just carrying on, really committing yourself to think something positive instead of going back to the old patterns that people often do.
Yes. And I want to, I love that you did that, because a very important piece, because a lot of times especially in internet age, we consume a lot. So we could easily Netflix, helpful documentaries, watch the YouTube talks, soak up things like this, but then when we don't implement it or kind of process it or create in our own way, then we're not creating a new behavioral pattern. We're not creating a new habit. We just then get stuck back into our habitual ones. What I love about what you did is that, yes, you soaked that information in, and then you also summarized it or synthesized it and created it in your own way. So then you had that book that you ended up creating for yourself, where you would put those quotes in there. You would write about the parts of the book that resonated with you. You would add the song lyrics in there, and you had a way to document your growth. You had a way to chronicle those really important chapters in your life so that you could go back and reflect when, like earlier you said in our conversation, when something feels hard now, you could go back and reflect. It was like, oh, but this is nothing compared to what I've been through. Like, if I did that, if I overcame that, like, I can do this. And so I really like that technique, and I would encourage those of you who feel like that resonates with you, grab a notebook, grab something, if you want to make it digital, start creating a document where all of the things that resonate with you, you start creating them and paraphrasing them or putting them in your own words, but you start putting it back out. So you're not only just soaking everything in, but you're also creating a new habit by acting on those things. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So our last question today is, I'm curious to know, who is it that you hope that your story of resilience touches?
I am so passionate just helping people, and because I have met so many people who just, they feel like there is no hope and they have no purpose, and they almost feel like, oh, I wish I could, build my own business. I wish I could become an actor, singer. It doesn't really matter. It's just people don't believe in themselves, and they really think that because of my past, that also is my future. But it is only your future if you choose it to become your future, because most situations are neither good or bad. It's just our perceptions, our thinking make it so. So what I'm really hoping that I reach, even some of these people who think that, oh, I can't, and I'm not good enough, and I don't know enough. Because the truth is that neither do we. We are still learning. I am still learning. And when I see my clients, they teach me things.
Absolutely.
I constantly self-develop. I constantly read. I constantly, I do a lot of, obviously, mindfulness stuff and meditation and visualization. I think that it's really mind and body connection is really important. So yes, I mean, everyone has a story to tell, and the reason we have all these challenges, the reason we are so different and unique, is because we are not, our purpose here is not to fit in. Our purpose here is to add.
Yes.
So everyone has a story. Their background and their challenges is not something that hold them back. But imagine if that past could really add to something really purposeful in the future. So I really hope that with this we can give people a bit of hope. Absolutely. That they can do it as well.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing your valuable time with us. If anyone wants to get a hold of you or know where to reach you, how could they do so?
So they can visit my website, and they can obviously email me, they can Instagram me. I'm there. I can answer people's questions. If people want to work with me, I work with people not only in the UK, but all around the world by way of Zoom or Skype. So, just look me up, ask me a question. I'm happy to answer.
Okay. What's your Instagram handle, just verbally, for those of listening?
It's my name and my last name, which is Laura Lohk.
Okay. All right, and I'll have her information typed in the description. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Laura, for your time. I really, really appreciated this talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.